Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Welcome to 221B Baker Street, by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary here, and while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my home, Kristen Deere.
Hi.
Yes, we had a little trouble with scheduling and whatever, so we decided, what the heck, it's a two-parter, let's do it as one big episode.
Yep.
Woo! As you can tell, Kristen is very excited.
I thought I'd downplay it a little, play it cool.
What's the fun in that? I once did a podcast where I needed a co-host, so I had a friend of mine. Now, off the recorder, me and him would talk for hours about TV shows, movies, and whatever. And you could not stop this man talking. And then I had him on the show, and the whole time he'd be like, "So what you did in that scene? Did you like it?" They just go, "Yeah." And everyone thought, and people would write letters into the show. It's like, dude, why don't you let your co-host talk? I'm like, it's not me.
This show is one of my favorites. That's all.
You can do it in that monotone. I am the biggest. Why don't I do it like Stephen Hawking's doing the podcast? Sherlock Holmes. I am a huge fan.
Yeah, it's fun to watch and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite show, really. I mean, I wait all day to sit down and watch it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is the Baker Street Podcast.
That's enough of that.
Okay. All right. So now this is very exciting. Now, I mean, of course, spoiler alert, because we listen to a podcast, but did anyone else know the second? I mean, it was Stuart Townsend.
Yeah.
The second you saw him, it's like, oh yeah, like he's not a bigger role. Now, when I first saw him, I didn't think he was, of course, the person who did it to Kitty, but I'm like, there's got to be a reason he's there. You don't just put Stuart Townsend in the show.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny though? I have to grab tweets early for my GIF tweet caps, and I'm on the West Coast, so I'm 3 hours later, but I have to grab the tweets from the East Coast, otherwise they all get jumbled together and it gets really confusing. So I haven't watched the show when I start favoriting tweets. And the second someone mentioned Dell, for some reason I knew he did it.
I knew this. Well, the funny thing is, he's playing his character in the second episode. Really, he's playing his character exactly like he played anything, because he's played killers before. But it reminded me of when he played Dorian Gray.
Okay, I didn't even, you know what? I didn't even know that it was who it was at first. I heard someone mention it was Joan's new boss. Oh, Joan's new boss is cute. Oh, Dell or something like that. And I was like, oh, he did it. And I don't know if that's because of, the way I got the information or what, but it was funny how I just connected that right away.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I know. Of course, I didn't know I didn't figure he was the killer because they were leaning up, but I wasn't surprised. I knew he was going to be something. So we see from this episode, obviously Kitty's very emotional. Like, she's showing a lot more emotion than she usually does because, they find a woman that's been branded like her. It's a good scene. It's a good scene with Ophelia. Very good.
Every scene with her is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of fantastic scenes, the next one is the moron cop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was he stupid. Oh, man. This is like... I mean, so stupid. He's like, what? Oh, you mean I should have investigated? Oh, it was probably just a guy,
Yeah,
you
and the
know.
way he presents his evidence and even the accent the slight accent they gave him, it just made him sound like
You almost expect he's gonna hold up a drink and go, the
yeah.
Bears. So what you guys saying? You know, there might be more to the crime.
Okay, that's taking it over the edge a little.
I know, but it's like when you think
Right.
caricatures. But the sad thing is, there are cops like this. It probably happened this way. I don't investigate this anymore.
Yeah, probably.
I like how like he's still trying to be all indignant about. One thing I like about this is usually in detective shows, whenever you have the other cops will go, yeah, but he's all right. No, but Gregson's literally calls him an idiot. Well, not literally. He pretty much calls him an idiot because he says they're going to clean up the mess you made.
But you know what? They wouldn't have been so angry at him if it wasn't personal. Because normally they don't treat them this way. It's like, oh, just go away, you know? They don't get all just really irate and kind of ganging up on someone, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, it is because it's personal, you know.
And Kitty being so brave.
Yeah. I did like how her showing her brand shut the guy up. Although, I like how he's like, it's a sapphire. I'm like, why is that relevant? It's just he said it like it was this big clue. It's like, it's a sapphire, not a diamond. You almost want to see Gregson pat him on the head and go, yes! Yes,
that
it
would have been
is!
awesome. I'd love to see that.
Awesome and completely out of place.
I want to see Gregson be. I mean, he's already sarcastic sometimes, but I want to see him go over the top sarcastic at least once.
Well, he has a couple of times a little bit. I mean, obviously I can't. Over the course of the whole show, I can't nitpick him now, but I'm pretty sure he's done a couple. So they're trying to figure out about the victim, and they lead to a dating website. And through the investigation of the dating website, they meet the guy every woman thinks every guy is. This jerk. Oh my! I mean, I know it's funny. Of course, I would say, "What do you mean she's?" But there are guys like that. Oh, she wasn't a thought. Look at her. She is beautiful. And the guy's like, "Oh,
yeah, she wasn't hot enough to be honest." It's like, God.
I love the looks on their faces. They're like, really?
And I love Sherlock's quote here, or
which one?
Oh no, that was yeah, no, it was when they were talking to him. The Flaubert with an emoji addiction.
Oh God, yeah, that was an interesting one. Sadly, my knowledge of French poets, writers is limited, so I'm not that familiar with Flaubert. In fact, the only time I ever heard the name before is that's what Miss Piggy called her pet anteater in Muppet Treasure Island. Flaubert.
I think he was very. Well, anyway, let's not get it.
Oh God, let's not pull a Rob Southgate.
Yes.
Okay. I just can't get over that scene. I mean, it's like maybe if I wasn't a jerk, she'd still be alive. It's essentially what we find out. Oh, by the way, I just realized that the cop who investigating her missing doesn't even find out she had a dating profile, which might have been a clue. Hey, maybe someone she met on there.
Yeah, that guy was really. It's because he saw one, you know, what he thought was a clue, and then just he was lazy, you know.
The sapphire.
Basically lazy. Sees one thing
or
and
emerald,
then goes
whatever
with
that. And then we go to the bar where the woman was at and found out the bartender's a jerk too.
Yeah, there were a lot of jerks here. Well,
I mean, what the
subject matter? They just make all the men be jerks.
I can understand. I know, what is this, Elementary produced by Lifetime? I can understand the bartender, maybe not really, but I'm pretty sure not a lot of, well, I can't even say that. That like most, but a good bartender, if he sees a woman stumbling after one drink, does not just let her leave.
I know.
And I don't even mean from a moral standpoint, because if that woman was drunk, she got hurt. The bar is liable.
He said it as if he was completely oblivious, and even after John said, "Oh, it sounds like a ruby," you know, and he's like, "What? It's upscale here." It doesn't even look like a really upscale, you know. It sounded like he was. It almost sounded like he was bragging about,
Yeah.
Even after Joan knew something was wrong and was saying, there she was roofied and all this bad stuff happened, and he's like, "Oh, well, we don't have cameras because our clientele is so exclusive." It's like, what? Just get the damn info, whatever you can get. Come on.
Yeah, and then he's like, and then she's like, right, because rich people never rape.
Yeah.
He's like, rape?
Rape is committed
And
by
you almost
poor
want
people.
Joan
That's
to,
it.
you almost want Joan to go, yes, that's what they use roofies for.
Yeah. He seemed so like, oh, I don't know. He was annoying. That was a really annoying character.
It's funny because I say, oh, pretend to win notice, but then I watch shows like, do you ever watch Bar Rescue?
No.
It's pretty much one of those like shows where they go in and save the business, except it's for bars. And it's amazing how many bartenders, like, there'll be people like who can't even stand up at the bar, and the bartender who's not even paying attention is like, oh yeah, here's your next drink.
Man. It's annoying. Well, I've seen a few of those on restaurant. What is it? Restaurant. There's a bunch of restaurant ones.
There's a few.
And on some of them, that it's like a bar within a restaurant, and you see that kind of thing on there too.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it myself. Just going to bars, it's like, why are they still letting that person drink?
Yeah, it's crazy. Logic would. Okay. Anyway. Let's move on.
Okay, so
Disposable phone.
yes, they get the phone, which leads them to and they look the bills, so it starts leading them closer. I did like how Kitty's like saying like how Watson should focus on her new job and not on her case. So it's obviously a defensive wall. But
Kitty seemed very upset that Joan was involved at all. Like, she wanted to catch this guy herself, and she wants to take care of him. And we see, but she doesn't want any good people around. She just wants to take care of this guy.
She just doesn't want to be a victim anymore. She wants to put this behind her. And so they lead. I'm trying to remember the right way to say this guy. I should have written down. What's his name? They're about to. DeMerville, that's it. Simon DeMerville. And which leads them to a national location, which leads them to something that's, I think, surprised a lot of us, a sex traffic house.
Yeah, brothel.
Essentially, yes. And so they rescue. I know this is a weird thing, but I like how when the cops bust in, they're like, "Okay, come with us." He's like, "Shouldn't you check if she can even get up?"
I actually was thinking that. He starts leading her out, and she can barely walk, and I thought that was kind of weird.
I mean, he doesn't even say, "Can you stand?" But they're looking into. I mean, there's a lot of girls there, and while investigating, they found one of the grunts dead, and they realized that he probably tried to kill DeMerville, but he was surprised by him. DeMerville, who was injured, Sherlock deduces, must go to a hospital, and they find out that his sister works at one.
And the really weird thing is that he didn't go to get patched up, really. He went for the drugs.
Now, we should definitely mention they found the brand at his house, which is weird that it was there, but as we find out in the second episode, it makes sense they found it there.
Yeah.
So, I think the thing about medicine showed that, I mean, they didn't really touch upon this, but I mean, to that kind of, the guy was intelligent. Yeah. I mean, I think they should have touched upon that a bit more. That guy being smart.
I know, because the picture, all we see is pictures. For the most part.
Well, we get that moment when he throws the girl, and I think that's the only other time we really saw him.
He just seems like I don't know, like just a low life. Nothing. I mean, he doesn't seem like he could be smart, They don't really show that side of him at all.
Yeah, so they go to the hospital and they investigate, and they talk to the sister. I thought this actress did all right, but I don't know where she was going with this performance. Of just not if she was trying to go for naive.
Sister was so weird.
Thank you.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was she was supposed to be that way, if it was the actress or what was going on there, but I actually put in my notes that she was odd. I put odd in big letters.
Yeah, she was. I honestly don't know what she was going for.
Yeah. Oh, also, did you notice how Bell knew that something was off. He was like the first one we see to have doubts about what's going on. He's like, what? This doesn't seem right. And then also, I think before they found the sister, I think it was before they found the sister, there was the victim, Sonia, I think her name was. She wanted.
Oh, the woman in the hospital.
Yeah, she wanted to know what was being done. Oh. And that scene, I mean, it was like way too realistic. I was totally crying. Yeah.
Really? Well, it's amazing, like, because Kitty did not believe how much. She just thought it was just some psycho rapist. That she didn't think that could be her. And then they realized that he's using. Yeah, that's what we need to talk about. He was using a sex traffic ring, which is really smart when you think about it, because these girls were going to disappear anyways, to collect his victims.
Right.
Yeah, and I like how Watson is trying to comfort Kitty, and there's no comfort in that. You've lived in that hell for like, was it a year, a couple of years, around that timeline, or was it 5 years? I forget exactly how long she was since she escaped him.
Wait, who? Kitty was only held for 3 days, right?
No, I mean since it happened.
Oh, it had been 6. No, wait, I'm sorry. Actually, no, I don't know. I forget.
I think they mentioned it in the second episode, but still, an extended period of time that she's been dealing with it, and then you find out you could have had a worse fate. I mean, what the heck? And
I thought Joan was kind of weird because she I think she just didn't understand. She just didn't.
Well, you can't.
I know, but I mean, she didn't even take that into account. The fact that she couldn't understand, she just starts talking like trying to solve the case without taking her feelings into consideration. She was part of that, part of that whole world. So, well, I think she was just used to Kitty working on cases with her and not thinking of her as a victim of this stuff,
Well, she's only known Kitty. Strong woman, She's seen Kitty after a lot of work to get her to that point.
Yeah.
So they talk about it, and then we go to the hospital, we meet the weird sister, and they find out, let's see, esopharin,
esopharin or something, yeah. For PNH, whatever. I looked it up, but it was such a long name for this disease that I just put PNH.
Yes, and they find out that it's actually the most expensive drug, one of the most expensive drugs there, so it's the smartest thing for him to take. Which Sherlock deduces from the... we get that line from saying her soul is a horror.
Yeah. Maybe because she was so weird.
Well, we find out later that her brother's a monster, but not the level of monster that we thought he is. So, he deduces that this guy... And I love how Kitty's so critical of, like, that avenue of investigation. She's like, who cares about the bloody medicines?
Yeah.
But they realize that there must be a reason he took it.
Oh, and also, when they were talking to that sister, you could see kind of under the surface that Kitty was just fuming with hate.
Oh, God, yes.
She just hated this sister for seeming to be okay with all this.
I mean, that's one thing Ophelia is really good at. She can convey emotion just through her eyes. Like, a wide range. That's not easy to do.
It's not.
She's just got this way. I mean, she could do all these looks with just her, the expressions with just her eyes, which really helps it makes the character really give it a lot of depth.
Yeah.
So the sister says she patched him up, but that she doesn't know anything. And Kitty doesn't believe her, so she pays her a little visit.
Yeah. She goes sociopathic
I like how Kitty's to
get her information.
Yeah, a little bit.
She goes sociopathic for a couple of minutes there to get in, to fool the sister into letting her in.
Yeah, and then she starts turning off the lights, and the sister's like, "Aren't you with the police?" And she goes, "Not tonight."
Yep.
And then, surprisingly, the next day, the sister comes in ready to give her statement.
Yes, and the sister, she wasn't just odd. She was annoying in a way because she just seemed so weak, She's like the weakest person.
Well, that's how that kind of relationship would happen. A dominant, aggressive brother, and that's why she would listen to him.
I know, but it's annoying.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it.
But then that part where she gives up, she's like, and the kitty just goes, "That's it?"
Yeah, she's really annoyed with her.
And then she's like, "Oh, I also have a number." It's like, oh yeah, you kind of lead with that. So then she calls him, and again, in my opinion, when she calls him, this is another hint that he's smarter, because I think he knew something was up. I'm not saying he knew the cops were listening, but he knew something was up. Signed to Merville. Then Holmes, in a really interesting deduction, recognizes the sound of a boat toilet.
Micturating.
Yeah,
into a boat toilet.
Yeah. So which leads them to the marina, and they start investigating.
He knows this because he knows what it's like to
I was a little
vomit
confused.
in one of them.
Now, was that? I don't know. That part just sounded weird to me.
Yeah. Well, I guess he said he had, he got seasick, basically. But I wonder why he spent so much time on boats if he got seasick or motion sickness all the time.
I thought he was saying something about it. Did he say something about his addiction in that statement?
He just said motion sickness.
I don't know. Because he said this he said a really long statement that just says throwing up.
No, he didn't say throwing up. He said he had motion. He knows those toilets because of motion sickness and spending a lot of time on a boat. And he may have alluded to some. I don't think he said anything about drugs in that, but he may have been alluding to it. I wasn't sure what he was saying, honestly, but I know that Alcott was saying.
That's what I'm saying.
He was saying he had motion sickness and he knows the toilet well.
Well, I'll see if I can deduce what he said. I'll keep it running as we go forward in the episode. So the investigation leads them to. It turns out the man's neighbor. By the way, I love how the guy's like, "We were moving to get away from that house."
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't notice 20 or 30 girls going in and out. Yeah, the Albanian mob set up space in suburbia. Another person looking the other way.
Yep.
Although someone with a family, we can't fault them too much. You don't know what kind of people you're crossing over by reporting them. But that's a discussion for another time.
And I like how this was one of my favorite clues, was seeing how he saw the turf.
Oh, something we've got to mention. We meet Joan's boss again.
Oh yeah, Sherlock uses Joan basically to, gets her to use her job. It's
funny because it's almost fun rewatching this after watching the second part, because you realize exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because then we find out later he was intentional, because he had Simon DeVervil's address in seconds. He just doesn't give it to her. Obviously.
He has to, kind of take his time as if it was all natural.
Yeah, and he's got. It's weird watching this because now that we know who he is, he knew the whole time what was going on. He probably was waiting for her to call him and ask him for the help, and he's acting I can't.
And he was listening to her the whole time with her cell phone, right? Her work phone.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that when we get to it next episode. But so after that he says, "Oh, I'll help," and find out about. That's how they found out because the neighbor's son had that PNH thing, and the Merv gave him as a case. I like how the AstroTurf. We found out the boat isn't at the he was still hiding. He was the whole time. He was at their house, so he was not that. So that means hospital came back to the house next door and was just staying in the boat.
He was right there.
Which is interesting. Yeah. So they go and they call Gregson and he's like, "Oh, you mean?" And she's like, "What? You're already with her?" Yeah, because the boat was torched.
With him in it, locked inside.
And they assume it was the mob. But Kitty, so Kitty is not happy with the resolving of the case.
And also, the way Gregson says, "Oh, I think we're done here."
Oh, well,
Like,
we already knew it was.
no. No.
See, they shouldn't have said it was a two-parter, because obviously with the ending we knew anyways. But it's like it being a two-part, most of the viewers knew there was going to be more to the
Of
case.
course.
So we get to of course later on. Dell. Well, she has this scene with Kitty and I almost said Kitty once. Kitty and Holmes in the morgue, where she's like, "I don't think this is the man." She said about the broken finger and thing. It's like Holmes wants it to be over too, because he wants Kitty to be able to move on.
Right.
So, and he tells her about Irene, but she tells him, well, no, not Irene, his addiction. But she tells him, "Listen, it's not the same thing. You hurt yourself."
Yes. I like how she pointed out how he, he doesn't know everything. I mean, he's like trying to He's trying to get her through this intellectually, and it's, I mean, if you get really deep into the emotional stuff, that's not going to work.
Right. So she like goes, he goes, and Watts is talking, and Dell's like, "Oh, I'm glad to see everything resolved okay."
Yeah.
And watching it a second time, you're like, "You jerk." And now here's the funny thing is, I think they did this with the previews too. I thought that when we saw someone there, I thought that was going to be the real person. You know what I mean? Like, I thought because we didn't see it with Kitty at first. We just saw someone was there.
Right.
I thought it was that was going to be the real killer who's going to kidnap Watson,
I think that's what everyone thought. A lot of people were tweeting, "Oh no, now he's going to get Watson." And all through the episode, people were tweeting, "When is he going to go get Watson? When is he going to go capture Watson?"
Well, obviously intentional.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, it was obvious. And we skipped something.
What did we skip?
When Gregson.
Oh yes. When they talk about the sister coming in, I like how he puts it, like, she came in today in a slightly different mood.
Yeah.
Oh no, the line I really like is when Gregson is like, "I believe her, and so do you." And he brings up the time he looked the other way because it helped his daughter out, and he regrets it.
Right. I don't totally understand why he regrets her helping his daughter.
Well, we're not exactly sure what she did, and if she physically, although I don't know, we don't know what she did.
I think he's still glad. He says he shouldn't have, but I don't know. I mean, he left, so his daughter's safe. So, it's like the best of both worlds right there. And then, but I was slightly disappointed when he showed her bruises, because it kind of, in a way, it kind of reminds me of Hetty on NCIS LA, where she's like this legendary fighter. She can like kick anyone's ass, but you never actually see it. She's just this super short old lady, and
Hetty's supposed to be able to fight.
And they never show this, except at one point they kind of show us that it's for real, that it's not just pretend. Like they show us more like proof that it's for real. And I didn't like that so much. I liked it better thinking that she's just this legend, And so it's kind of like that with Kitty. Like I'm thinking of her as sort of a legend, she can just talk someone out of something. You never actually
okay, I get
someone
you.
up or something,
I get what you mean. So we get the scene with it turns out it was Kitty at Watson's place, and she's all freaking out because, as it turns out, she does remember the voice, and it's Watson's boss.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't that surprised because, like I said, it's Stuart Townsend. I mean, he's not a huge actor, but he's big enough that you put him in a one-off role in a show, he's going to be something.
And I mean, she's just fantastic in that scene, also in every scene.
Oh God, yes. I really hope her doing this role opens doors for her, because I want to see her in more stuff. I'd be completely fine with some kind of Kitty spin-off where she's the detective. but I don't know if they'll ever do that. We'll see. So we move on to the second part.
You know what?
Unless
Even better is kind of a on the outskirts kind of detective without actually, having the title detective.
Right. Do you want to do your clue cap for this episode separate, or you want to do
them
both as one
together.
big one? Okay, just want to make sure. So we move on to the next part of this two-parter, because that's kind of how it works. Now, this one, I gotta admit, I liked a lot better. I think I liked this one better than the first. I felt like this was more of a Holmes episode than the first one.
Well, also, not even just that, but also, the first one was kind of like a leading up to the grand finale.
Yeah, it really was. The first one was more of a manhunt. There was a few more clues, but this one I felt was more Holmes.
Yeah, the first one had a lot more clues. This one has way fewer clues, but there are more, like you said earlier, more deductions.
And what I like it now, one of the things, my main, and this is something the writers are really good at putting little bits like this. I love how Kitty was trying to solve crimes even before she met Holmes.
That was great.
That was a great. I think that was a fantastic choice. And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And I like how her too. She gets we find later he's a good cop, but he's a good one who likes to clear up the case.
Well, I like that it didn't come out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always say like that she's well, because we've always wondered how did he know she'd be a good detective, and it makes sense that she was already trying to solve cases.
But this guy she's talking to, I love he's like I love to hate him kind of guy. He's so snooty. Yeah.
But the cop?
He's so snooty. He's really snooty for a cop. Yeah.
Well, he's British.
But that's why the word snooty really fits.
Yeah. So she's all mad, and I know it's a weird thing that I just love her in that outfit. She looks so badass. But so she leaves and she smashes her iPad, and I like this moment because it's like she looks at Holmes. What do you want? She's like, and he's like, "You're in my way."
Yeah. Which
is an interesting choice. So we're back into present day, and we get the moment where it looks for me, Holmes obviously believes Kitty.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He knows he believes, and I think he also we'll find out later he feels guilty. He didn't believe her at first.
And I thought it was weird that Watson didn't believe her after all that crying right in front of her. I mean, she was there for it, and maybe that's why Sherlock felt even more guilty for not being there when she.
Well, he said that.
She didn't have someone who cared, really.
Well, he says exactly that later in the episode. I should have been there. When you realize, I think Watson, because it's a lot of a self thing, because you don't want to believe that like the person. Oh, I've been working with, and especially if you're a detective, that you didn't see that he was a psycho.
Well, also,
but
I don't know if it's just that. It's like partly that, and also I think she's being a little bit selfish, because in the beginning of the last episode, we saw how happy she was to have her own big office with a view, which is exactly the kind of thing that Holmes would disapprove of her being so happy about, because it's like what everybody wants. It's not quirky or whatever. But I mean, the look on her face, that's the happiest we've seen her in a really long time. She absolutely in no way wanted to believe this.
Yeah, so I did like because Stuart Townsend plays this very good, the cockiness of this character, because they're talking about him, saying like Watson's like, why would he do this? Why would he get caught? He's like, because it was intentional. He wants to find out. He knows, and Kitty is the only one that ever got away, and she joins up with the detective. What do you do? And he's like, he's testing it, and like, well, how is he able to know what we're doing? And he's like, well, maybe he's watching. And then she's like, oh, he did give me a company phone. And I love how the second she says that, he called her up. We're gonna have to let you go.
Now, at first, it seemed really stupid because it's like really suspicious. I mean, he knows because he's listening that Watson is the only one who doesn't believe that he did it. Well, maybe she does in her heart, but she doesn't want to believe it, and so it seems stupid at first. Then the next scene we see why he did that.
Yeah, because then it discredits her coming after
Exactly.
him. We see how he really is. He's a complete
Yeah,
narcissist.
and I mean, oh God,
Oh, and I love how
douchebag.
Gregson, Bell, Holmes, and Watson after this scene are all like, "It's
Yeah.
him." Like they know, and like his excuse is number one, boxing was the new
Oh
Pilates
God.
or whatever. And
And it's just the arrogance on his face.
he played it
He
so good.
really,
He
really
really
did.
did. I mean, seriously, as much as that movie was terrible, it really reminds me of when he played Dorian Gray.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, don't. It's a movie, but no, it's one of those bad comic book
Okay.
adaptations. But he was no, but he was fine. The actors were fine in the movie, like, but he was like, and he it was the same kind of guy. He was a cocky, vain, a psychopath. Really, there's a lot in common with this
Yes.
character.
But I love Gregson's screw
Oh
that.
yes,
You
yes.
screw that. When Watson says, she's maybe maybe take a leave. Yeah.
I love how he cares about Kitty. I
Oh
really
yeah.
do.
And now they
So,
have more than 3 people working against them. I mean, they were talking about earlier about how it was just the three of them, against Dell, and then bringing the cops in. He doesn't know how much the cops care about Kitty. I don't think he does. I think Dell
right,
assumes, that he can just get away with anything.
right. Well, he's a
Yeah.
narcissist, so that's how it happened. Well, I really like this when Holmes. Well, they do a full, but I want to talk about this first. I like how Holmes, like, when they're talking about the case, he's like, "No, we're not calling him Dell." And she's like, "What do you mean? Dell is the nice guy, the man who hired her. Gruner is
Yes,
the man we're after." And I
Gruner.
really like that. It it does sound like a
Yeah.
Bond villain or something from a World War
Yeah.
II movie. We are being hunted by Herr
Well, it's
Gruner.
also like, I don't know, what, grubby or something. It just sounds Gruner.
No, for me, I thought of Nazi villain. Herr Gruner is after
Okay.
us.
Yeah, there's that.
Do not let.
Dell is a computer. Computers are nice. We don't want that. We want Gruner.
Yeah, for a dated reference, dude, you're getting abducted by Dell. Okay, so anyways, we get a flashback scene where we find out Kitty was a transcriber, mostly an easy job you can do by yourself. And Holmes shows up to her, she gets it. I like how he's like, "You can keep your knife." She's like, "How do you know I was holding a knife?" And I like how he doesn't
Yeah.
tell her. It's just, and but the line I liked was he's in charge of the because we get a mention of DCI Hopkins. He's like, he's in charge of the cop you've been harassing. I haven't been harassing anyways. I like how Holmes just goes, "Yes, you have, and with good
Yes, he
reason."
requires harassment. I like that line. He requires harassment for being a limited thinker
Right.
and a douche.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
like how Holmes has
Yeah.
her broken tablet in his arms.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, does anyone else really want Holmes to cook for them? Because it seems
Yeah,
like he's pretty good at it.
I do.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Lee Minogue can really cook, because he looks like he knows what he's doing in the kitchen whenever we show him
Yeah, he
cooking and
looks like
stuff.
he has a handle on all the utensils, Like some people, if when they're not cooked,
I love that
because
stove. I
they
know.
kind of are, they're kind of fumble with the utensils a little bit,
Yeah, but I don't know why I just like that stove. It's just an awesome
Yeah.
looking thing. But okay, so Kitty comes up to and tells him that she wants to go back to London because she doesn't want to be a distraction to the case,
Yeah.
and because she says she's not ready to hunt
Yeah.
him.
Oh, and also another little thing right before that I like when Sherlock insists that she eat breakfast, and it kind of makes fun of Dell at the same time, Adelbert or whatever that it stands for, Adelbert or something like that.
Oh yeah, you know what's funny? When I first heard it, I thought he said like Engelbert or
Engelbert
something.
Humperdinck.
I thought he said Engelbert. I'm like, oh, Adelbert. Okay.
Yeah, and and this is where he talks about feeling guilty for not being there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the way it's kind of a light breakfast, making fun of Dell, Dell's name, and insisting she eat breakfast. I thought it was kind of a sweet little scene.
Yeah, I like how. I wish we could have I kind of wish we could have seen the scene where Watson and Bell were talking to the Albanian
Yeah.
mob because they fought. Well, they fought. Although here's the thing, I found it was like we went to a lot of savory places. The Albanian mob did not want him dead. It's like, yeah, because mobsters are always so truthful to the cops. But they probably just wanted to move the case along, you know.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if in one version of this episode there were scenes like that, but they cut it for time.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there are a lot of scenes that get deleted.
So
Oh, and I also like how
go-
Sherlock clarified that she was suspended, not fired.
yeah. I remember the first time I ever heard the term sack, and I didn't know what anyone was talking about.
I think the first time I heard it, it was in context, so I got it right away.
Well, I figured out quickly, but I remember you figured out in like 2 seconds, but when you first hear it, it sounds weird. I know when the first time I heard it was Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Oh, maybe that's why it sounded weird.
'Cause when
It was with an accent.
No, I remember because when they do that, not to go on a Rob Southgate tangent, it's when the credits keep getting changed, and they say the guy who did the credits has been sacked. I thought it meant killed.
Oh.
Because it was in the context of Monty Python, you know, in the Holy Grail. I thought they were like, oh, but then I found out later, oh, it means fired. Because I think I heard it in like an office setting or something. I'm like, okay, so obviously it doesn't mean killed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I heard it like in the right context, and I just it sounded right to me.
Now, we got more of the case, and Holmes says he's going to start looking for bodies that could have possibly be left by Gruner.
Oh, also one other thing on this, it was weird to rewatch Kitty being really sad and upset and saying that she was leaving, and knowing that she knew this whole time that she wasn't actually leaving.
Well, she was still emotional, so it probably wasn't fake.
So I mean, she was using that. That's what I was thinking. She was using emotions for other things while talking about leaving.
Yeah.
And so it was realistic, but it was so realistic. You think that she's actually leaving right then.
So also we see here's a view into why Watson didn't want to believe. She feels really guilty that she didn't recognize like being lied to, allowing herself to be tricked. But Holmes tells her the guy is a brilliant psychopath. That's what he does. And we also find out that Del Gruner's security system is crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand we get that great scene where although we could talk about that scene too, where Kitty's trying to break into. And by the way, that is a weird look. I'm guessing it's an English style, but it's like that's a weird little apartment. I mean, I'd love to live in it because it was kind of cool. The place Holmes was staying in. And like there was I don't know why I laughed when she kicks the door open and it just snaps back. I just laughed.
It was like a cartoon, you know.
It was. Although the real reality is those locks. I mean, unless you specially do them, those locks are crap. They don't protect anyone. No one. Those don't protect from nothing. I mean, yeah. I mean, if they're the only lock, they're not doing anything.
There's only one way to do it if you don't want people to know that you broke in.
Right.
So I think that's the thing.
Right. And it's lovely of Elementary to show people how to break into one of those doors.
But nobody uses that, that style. I don't think anymore.
No, and no one uses that lock by itself. Although the idea is she could pick. Well, the idea is I think she can pick the other locks.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, Gruner's. I did think that was kind of funny, but then I was also thinking, maybe it's because he's so arrogant.
Yeah, that's yeah. Although we gotta talk. How about when they have after she can't break in, they have their argument, and he says, "Perhaps you like being broken." It's almost like he's saying it at himself more than her.
That was like, whoa. You knew right away when he said that she was gonna get really upset.
Yeah. So so then we're back with some Holmes' deductions. He found the women he believes have a connection to Gruner. Now there was a line again. Watson had a weird reaction when he's like, "Oh, sure, just throw out my process of elimination," and she's like, "I was asleep." It's like he didn't really say anything against her. I mean, he kind of did, but she was like, well, obviously, again, she's still guilty about Gruner. which is subtle, and I think it works.
And actually, the first thing I noticed was that there was no rude awakening because there's no like laughing in this in this episode, you know.
Yeah, not a lot of there's no comedy in this. Well, okay, we laughed at the lock, but that was probably unintentional. Wasn't intended to look funny. But there is no comedy in this
No.
episode.
Well, I think it was supposed to maybe a little. Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they have little tiny touches of humor, but you're right. Maybe they didn't mean.
Well, yeah, like yeah. But like both Holmes and Watson are feeling so guilty because they care about Kitty, so they're both feeling really guilty that like Holmes is guilty he didn't believe her, he wasn't there for her, and Watson's guilty that she let herself be tricked for so long, and in my opinion, that shows in this scene when they're griping at each other.
I mean, and Sherlock didn't stop being upset with Watson for sleeping, you know, while he was working. He like did all this work, and he kept sniping the whole time.
And I like how like they find Belle calls and they found
the important one.
Yep. And her name is Tabitha Laird, and they apparently there was an incident where he just something got weird, but I like how defensive she's being too. Obviously she's a little scared of him, she just doesn't want to admit it. Which happens a lot. I mean, again, this show really understands psychology, in my opinion, and human behavior. And this is how a woman like that would react if it's someone she needs to work with, someone she has to pretend like it's an okay thing when she's obviously offended by it.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we assume that it's because she's the next victim, but we find out later there's much, much more to it than that. And I also like how Holmes is at first completely dismisses the idea that she was ever going to be a victim because she could not look less like the other victims. Right. Here's something I know it's just a geek in me that I know this, but I swear to God, Watson was channeling Tom Baker in this scene.
Tom Baker?
Because she's got this really long scarf, she's got the hat, and she's got a big coat. It felt like she was trying to channel Tom Baker. I know it's completely pointless and random to bring up, but it's just something that I thought when I first saw it.
You know what's so weird? I see so many tweets, maybe like half of the tweets about Elementary are about what Joan is wearing. And
yeah, well, it's something I've noticed. Her shirts always have like a distinctive graphic or a certain style to it. I always wonder how much of it is intentional.
Well, whenever I talk about the show with my mom. My mom always hates Joan's clothing in the show. She's always she always brings it up, but in the opposite way. She's always saying, "Why does she wear such? Why do they make her dress in all these ugly clothes?" It's like the direct opposite of what I see in the tweets. You know, it's all
right.
You know, oh, I want that shirt. Oh, I love that outfit. You know, and I'm like in the middle. I absolutely never even notice what Donna's wearing. I never noticed at all. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't remember a scarf or anything.
Well, it helps that I watch the episode as we podcast.
Okay.
And now we get a nice flashback scene where we see that Holmes calls Kitty in and she sees Lateef there. And that she was right, that he was abducted somewhere else. He was just wrong about the who. And I like how Holmes says I like how he goes, he is going home tonight because of you.
Yes.
And then she's like, wait a minute, how did you get everything I gave you came up with this? And he goes, all in good time.
Yeah, she seemed so, that was like the hook that caught her.
Yeah. And we get a return of the nutmeg concoction.
Yes. Well, we saw in the preview that was going to be involved. Yeah. And everyone, actually, myself and everyone on Twitter, the first thing they saw when they saw the preview was, oh, I hope Dell gets nutmeg concoction in the face, or I hope he gets, dissolved in a sink or something like that.
Yeah. What I like is, because apparently I don't know how she figured out the formula, but apparently she did. Okay, so after that, after she experiments with the meat, what a waste of a good
Well,
steak.
but didn't the nose
But
give them part of the formula?
oh yeah, oh that's true, yeah. But still, it's the amounts. I don't know, but
Well, it was
whatever. It's a little
mainly
thing.
like one thing mainly that does all the work, and then I don't know.
Okay, but yeah, so it's
The other part is just part of the guy's
whatever.
signature. She's making her own signature.
Yeah. Right. So we get the scene with Watson at the charity event, and at first, of course, it's like Holmes says, we're like, why would she do that? Again, it's the guilt. She feels guilty that she wants to catch this guy, and she rattles off the names, and there's no reaction. I love this though when Tabitha walks up, and he is so shit.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely see his bad side come out.
And then when he grabs her, oh god, that's
And
great.
it seemed like she wanted more than just seeing how he would react to those names. It seemed like she wanted to see his bad side. She wanted that proof
She
in
had
her mind, because she still saw the good Dell, her old boss. She wanted to see, it was difficult to see the bad side unless she could see it firsthand.
right.
Proof of evil.
And at first, yeah. At first, Holmes is like, "How that was done," but she wanted to. Now we have no evidence. We needed more, and he's like, "Fine, I'm gonna have to relook at everything." And he starts taking it down. And then he realizes, it was, and this is where we get more deductions. He says, "Wait a minute, he's been doing this for 6 years, and it was 6 years ago that this woman who was originally off the list was taken."
And she was gone. The only thing that took her off the list was that she was gone for a year. But I love how when Watson first saw the list, that was the first girl she looked at and said,
Yep.
"Why is she off the list?" Because she did fit all the criteria except for being gone for a year, being taken for a year.
And then they figure out it's the only thing that would keep it is the woman was pregnant. Although, well, yeah, I guess depending on how long he had, he would notice or somehow know. But here's the thing: how the heck did he take care of a captive pregnant woman for 9 months?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he I don't know. Who knows? It's a show.
Yeah,
It's a TV show.
Forget it, it's elementary. So they go back to talk to Tabitha, and they tell her everything. Like, we believe he's really his son, and I like how there's not a lot of. They said, listen, all we have to do is test his DNA, and if it's true, or if it's not true, whatever, everything's fine. But it is true. I like how Belle's like, you really don't want his father on the street.
Yeah, and you know that she knows that all this is possible. The look on her face, she was actually acted that out pretty well. That because you can see kind of underlying the smile, you can see in her eyes there's like a little bit of fear there. I thought that was pretty good. How the actress, I don't even know her name actually, the actress who played that was.
She did look kind of familiar.
Yeah, she looked familiar.
Well, I'll see if I can check her before we finish.
Just look up the episode on IMDb and.
That's what I do.
Or also TV.com has a good cast list for each episode. If you can't get on IMDb, I always look at TV.com.
Oh, I have my iPhone. I have the app, so this won't take me long.
But yeah, you could see it in her eyes. There was always a little bit of fear there the whole time. She would smile with her mouth, but her eyes would show fear.
Yes. Oh, wow, she's really a brunette. Her IMDb picture, she's a brunette. Well, she looks good either way. So anyways. Yes, and I just love, she like you said, she obviously knows something's up, but so she lets them find out that he is indeed
and then you could see the smile kind of droop a little too. Especially when Belle said, you don't want, you don't want that.
Right. So we what I like about what we learn here is that that Sherlock, what he does for Kitty, he gives her focus. That's what he wants to do for her.
Yeah.
That's what we learned from these. And so they find out that Dell's missing again. It's security, and we get now what I like now. Obviously, Holmes knew the second it happened. Well, obviously he saw the rubber band, but he knew exactly what was going on right when it happened.
Yeah.
So we get now. What I like about this scene with Kitty and Gruner, he didn't even go, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "I'm not who you think I am." The first thing he says to her was, "I've never forgotten you."
Yeah. Well, after she says that she's gonna kill him, then it's like, oh, might as well just show my true self.
Oh, and he tries to blame her.
Oh, that was horrible. I mean, he's still so horrible, and then instead of trying to save himself or something, he could have, said the right things to try to save himself. But instead, at the end, he still has to be horrible, and he still has to be arrogant. It's just his nature, I guess. And then, and then he's still trying to torture her with his words instead of saving himself. Idiot.
Right, and so Holmes shows up, and he pretty much tells Kitty, "I'm not going to stop you."
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Well, because he says, if you truly believe this is what you need, I'm going to let you. But I just remember, like, will affect you in some way to kill him. He tells her that she's right, that he can't know what it's like to go through what she went through.
Well, I love that Sherlock is trying to help save her from herself, just the way Kitty saved him from himself.
Yeah, I like how it's like, no matter what you do, you will always, and he says it twice, you will always be my friend.
Yeah, no matter what. I love that.
Yeah.
And I like that he tells her, he for sure, make sure that she knows that they can.
Yes, she saved him.
Well, also that they can expose this guy, so he doesn't need to be a killer. But he still leaves it to her, and then they can always be besties no matter what she chooses. I love that. And I also love her decision, her final decision.
Well, what's interesting about this is when I was so worried. Now the writers are not cliches, but I know they probably wouldn't do. I was so worried that when she's like, "I'm gonna let you live," I'm like, oh, I literally was going, "Oh God, he's gonna escape and kill her." I was like, please don't let this be how they end her. Like, he's gonna escape and kill her. He's gonna escape and kill her. He's gonna escape. But then it's like later on, it's like he was found maimed. I'm like, oh, all right, because now he can never, he's never gonna be pretty again.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that his quote unquote mask was being cute, basically, and because his exterior fools people, and so if he's hideous, he's basically showing him his true self.
I like how they said he's got pictures that he can't explain. He's not gonna be able to explain away.
Yeah.
And fun, and I like how Gregson's like, we all know who did this, and once he tells us, I'm gonna have to go after them. Gregson is what he says.
Yeah, so we know for sure that she's gonna have to leave at this point.
Yeah, we get that nice scene where she calls him on the phone, and she's like, maybe I can call for your help on cases, and then she tells him. He's the first person she's. Now, do you think she meant it in a romantic way, or?
No, the way she said it,
I was hoping not.
Really sweet. It's sweet.
Yeah, I was hoping that's the way they were going for. And I now, do we think she's gonna ever come back?
That I'd like for that to happen in some way, except not to have her die.
Yeah, I was just thinking, please tell me the way she comes back isn't they go to London to solve her death.
Yeah, I'm still upset that they just a couple of episodes, or was it the last episode of Criminal Minds, they killed off one of the first person to leave the show. He was supposedly okay this time.
They killed off Gideon?
In like the last, he's been around this whole time. Why did they have to kill him off?
Well, why'd they have to kill remember when they killed his wife or whatever? That was stupid. By the way, spoilers for anyone who wasn't expecting a kill.
Spoilers. But
although if they care about spoilers, they probably know like you do.
That was horrible. It's like, I was really sad. Dude, I
I heard the reason he
the
left.
whole time thinking that Gideon was alive.
Well, I heard the reason he left is because Mandy Patinkin's very hard to work with.
Yeah, well, I don't care what the reason is. I just, why'd they have to kill off his character? He was never coming back anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he pissed off one of the writers. Who knows? But I'm hoping they don't. I don't think the elementary writers. Well, the only time anyone's ever died and it really surprised me, and it felt a little random, was Sherlock's friend. Do you remember the actor?
Oh yeah.
Who was also, that really surprised me when they killed him.
That was weird.
I think that's the only time they did that. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. So we get the final flashback, and it's great because Kitty comes back, says, "Listen, I'm sorry about what happened. I want to be trained." And Sherlock was visibly crying, which I thought was great.
Yes.
And then she gives him purpose, so she gets rid of the drugs.
And
he gets rid of the drugs.
And I like how what am I trying to say? I like how the order of things. I like how they put this at the end.
Yes. Now, obviously it's a great scene. It shows that they gave each other purpose. Now, I don't know about drugs, but tell me I'm wrong, but putting heroin on the fire, isn't that freebasing?
I was thinking about that too. I was like, wait. I'm like, well, isn't that going to have some sort I hope there aren't any fumes from that.
Well, it could be, though, if you put it on, it's a small amount in a big fire, so it might burn up, but still, I really want to tweet, I don't know who to ask, but like...
I also like how we get a tiny bit of humor again. Now that everything is over, all the seriousness is over, we get a little humor.
I didn't think of that. I did not think of that. He says, bring goggles and a ladder.
No, he says, bring goggles. Oh, and a ladder.
Yeah. That's right. We get a little bit. It's something a little comical after the interesting. Yes, I didn't even realize that. So I hope. I really think a Kitty spinoff could work, even just as like a web series or something of her solving crimes, because this is the kind of age where you can do that sort of thing.
I would love to see that show.
Well, I guess we'll see. They're probably gonna, if they do it, they'd probably wait till this, because I don't know I haven't checked yet if they've been greenlit for season 4 yet.
Well, I've heard that they're a lock-in, even though, I've also heard that the ratings are fairly low, but they're basically a lock-in because of the fact that they, at the 4-year mark, they can have syndication.
Ooh, let's hope so, because I think this show is strong enough. Even at its weakest, it's a great show. Oh, something I forgot to mention. When Holmes goes back and tells Kitty, she tells her that I could have, and she already knew about that. He almost killed the person he thought killed Irene. So this part, he knows what she's going through, wanting justice.
Right, yes. At first,
so that was
I had no idea what you were talking about right there.
I know. I
said
saw
her.
it.
He said, like what?
So that's pretty much. Now, I wonder what the rest of the season's going to be like.
I know. The preview looked a little bland. I'm hoping that's not true.
We'll see.
I'm hoping we just get,
because is Watson just going to be? It's like we don't know where Watson stands. We don't.
Well, because she obviously doesn't have that new job anymore with the fancy.
She doesn't have her old job, and we don't know what happened to her boyfriend.
I think going a little deeper here, maybe this wasn't intentional or anything, but it seems like Watson has kind of learned a lesson of, having all this stuff that everybody wants, the big, beautiful office with a view, the big house. It's all kind of a facade. The whole job was a facade. And, just enjoy what you do. You don't have to have this, everything to look nice.
So, now, like I said, the first one was okay, but it was more manhunted. But the second one, just to me, felt more like a Sherlock. They took down the bad guy, and they did it through deduction. So I definitely, if I had to pick, now it's definitely fun to watch the second one, then rewatch it all as like one big episode because you notice a lot more stuff. But overall, as a whole, it was a good storyline, and I'd say it has, like I said, definitely has rewatch value. And it's a good episode. Great conclusion to what they were doing with. I was a little surprised that Kitty didn't last till the whole season.
Yeah, I did like having her around.
But I think it's good that before the end of the season they're back to Holmes and Watson. I'm looking forward to see where they
And
go
I'm
with
very
that.
glad that they
Yeah.
didn't kill her. And I hope they
Yes,
never
very
do.
much so. Right. Well, I don't. These aren't as long as they don't make the mistake of getting rid of any of the main writers.
Yeah.
Because that's when a show goes. When you get rid of the writers who make the show what it is, it's just how it happens. But yeah, overall, a good rating. What are your? Well, before we get to one more final thought, I shall break up the monotonous by having everyone's favorite part of the show, where I don't talk for at least a few minutes. Kristen's Clue Cap. Yay! And this is a special from 2 whole episodes worth of clues. So here we go.
Okay, so this is a 2-episode clue cap involving the crime is the murder of the girl Melanie, and then also sex slavery and various other horrible things. Okay, so the first clue was that the victim basically looked a bit like Kitty. Okay, so it showed that the murderer had a type. And the next clue is the description by the bartender of the way Melanie acted. It sounded as if she had been roofied, and then that's when Watson finds the phone that had been left behind. And then, of course, that leads them to Simon de Merville. And this is how they find the brothel. And then sort of a side clue, Melanie and Kitty had scars and were treated differently than all of the other girls in the brothel. Okay, so then the next clue, de Merville took the drug Esifera, or however you say it, for a rare disease called PNH from his sister's work as a doctor. And so then the next clue, when they have his sister call him, Sherlock hears him urinating into a toilet found specifically on a boat. Okay? And so then the next clue is actually something that Sherlock had noticed earlier. It was artificial turf. And so it had been found earlier, but it's used, for the boat storage. And so this is what leads them to de Merville's body, basically, at the home of the quote-unquote friend whose son had PNH. So it kind of all fits together. And so there they have the guy so this is where they've solved the sex slavery crime. Or, well, they find the guy who did it. But the problem here, the next clue Kitty notices is that de Merville's fingers are not broken. So Kitty doesn't think that he's the murderer of Melanie and the person who hurt her. And so, and then of course, Kitty hears the voice of the man who hurt her. And so from here on, we know who the killer is, so the clues are all in proving it. Okay, so the next clue is that Gruner has broken fingers. But of course that's not enough to put him away. And then the next clue is that Gruner donates to a foundation involving the woman Tabitha, but who is not his type. But he gets furious when he learns that they spoke to her. Okay, so the fact that he got furious about that's the clue. And then the next clue, one of the women they thought could be a victim fit all the criteria except for being kept for 1 year instead of just a few weeks. And the fact that that was 6 years ago, and that's how long Gruner has been giving to the foundation involving Tabitha and her son. And so that's how they realized that Tabitha's son might be actually be Gruner's son, etc., etc. Okay, and so this is how they're able to prove that he did it, so they can put him away. And he gets the nutmeg concoction in his face, so that's a nice ending also. That's it for the clue cap.
I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to let the dead air.
You're losing your voice.
No, I was intentionally going. I was trying to do that Kermit the Frog. So, okay, so what are your final thoughts on this two-parter?
I'm with you on I thought the second part was better than the first part. But I liked Kitty's role throughout the whole, seeing it as one big episode. I liked everything Kitty in this. She was just fantastic. And I thought that woman, she at first, what's her name? Tabitha. At first, she seemed like a throwaway character, but I thought that was a really good character too. I thought that was well acted and everything. And overall, I thought it was a great send off for Kitty. If we're gonna have a send off, which I wouldn't, I'd prefer not to, but if we're gonna have a send off, I thought it was the best way to do it.
Yes, I definitely agree with you on that. So yeah, overall, I'm looking forward to the rest of the episode. So nothing bad to say about this episode, or the two-part, I should say. So I would like to remind everyone, if you want to get a hold of us, it's to talk about Elementary. It's Baker Street Podcast at gmail.com. Baker Street Pod on Twitter, of course. Check us out, Baker Street Podcast on Facebook, and please review us on iTunes, because it's a great way to get people to watch and listen. It's time for us to depart, for the game is afoot.